Hi, my name's Lindy Cowling. Welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. My email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And for those of you that are new subscribers or new viewers to this channel, this is an experiential channel, which means everything that I talk about or share, I have either personally or professionally experienced or am personally or professionally experiencing, usually both. So I'm quite, let's say, big on that. I really like this channel to be an experiential one, so that people can tune into it at different stages of their evolutionary journey into the union of the heart, and hopefully it will help them along the way, one way or another. So I had hoped to be back on camera before now, but with one thing and another, health related, I got the flu and I was in bed for a week and all sorts of things. I'm now back on camera again, so I had wanted to get on here before, and actually I had got as far as recording a video to put up here 3 or 4 days ago, and it's highly unusual for me to look at my video and then decide, oh, I'm not going to put it out after all. And I looked at that one and decided, no, I'm not happy with it, I'm not going to put it out, so I deleted it. So this is a different video to the one that would have come out 4 days ago. Hopefully it'll be a lot better. That's why it's coming out today. So the title of this video is The Blend, Masculine and Feminine Blend in Order to Ascend. That rhymes. Masculine and feminine blend in order to ascend. So before I get started, it's important for me to explain again, if you're new to the channel, that the way I work and have always worked on this channel is a combination of personal, professional experience, but also, let's say, direct, intuitive, heart, in a way, a form of channeling or sharing straight through the heart, let's say through the source in the heart. And that's the way I've always worked, and that's evident to see if you look back at videos on this channel. It's important for me to say, if you are new to the channel, I am a medium, clairvoyant, healer, psychic anyway, and was born into a long lineage of people, you know, with those kind of abilities or gifts. And a combination of how I work is a mixture of that, but it's also that intuitive, direct, heart source-like channeling as well. So it's a combination of that and personal and professional experience. So having said all that, masculine and feminine blend in order to ascend. First of all, what do I mean by ascend? My definition of ascending in the human body, or ascension in the human body, is a descension of consciousness from other aspects of being, your being, into one's heart, in order for the heart to open, expand, and in order for one to become fully conscious. And a representation of coming into those states, is into a 0 point field of unified energy or union within, a state of completion within, and one's rungs of consciousness raising in one's heart accordingly. So my definition of ascending is the raising of consciousness in one's heart, so that one becomes fully conscious, fully able to express and create as a unique expression of consciousness, as an aspect of source within the human vehicle, in the embodiment. So the title of the video being the masculine and feminine blend in order to ascend, meaning not just the masculine and feminine within us. As you know, everybody has a combination, a mixture of masculine and feminine inside them. But the masculine and feminine externally, so masculine and feminine energy externally across the world, also requiring that blend, that equal balance of masculine and feminine in order to come into that place of inner union, which manifests externally in union, in order to create, let's say, that third energy or trinity as a unified expression. So in my view, never has it been more important in a way, or pivotal in a way, for this to take place, because we have been building for a number of years, not just recent years. My particular background, as I've been working in the let's say the light worker industry, I don't like that expression, but working in alternative industries and healthcare industries for nearly 20 years now. But my personal interests in world events and all things metaphysical started long before that, long before I worked in it. So this process that is now undergoing across the world, that people are in the middle of, that's personally, individually or collectively and or both, a lot of people anyway, not everybody has started that process yet. That process of expanding one's consciousness in the human body, or ascension, or coming into union, or coming into a unified 0 point field of energy, etc., all the same thing, becoming conscious. The waves of it started some time ago, a good few years ago now, but it's kind of dripping across to the general public now, and more people are going through this process of awakening. And what I mean by awakening is they are coming out of heavily programmed consciousness, the way they've been brought up, the societies, the countries, the governments, the political systems, etc., out of that. They're coming out of the very entrenched belief systems, and they are starting to look at things with a bigger or wider perception and question things. They're questioning the way the world is, the way the world has been going, you know, who is really running the world, these kind of things, wanting to do good for the planet, wanting to do good for the animals and the plants on the planet, and do good for one another, all these kind of things going on. So the blend of masculine and feminine, if we start with the inner blend of masculine and feminine, as you know, because we are a mixture of both within our human vehicle, different sides of our body kind of reflect these representations of masculine and feminine energy and different aspects of us. So if we have one aspect of it out of whack, out of kilter, not entirely in balance, not only can that come out in our personality, in our everyday lives, through our expressions, but it can also come out in a much more detrimental way in issues within our body and issues within our consciousness, where there are blocks in our masculine energy or blocks in our feminine energy, and they represent and come up over and over again. So it is really important to notice, if you can, if your awareness is where you can notice these kind of things, where repeating patterns or behaviors are coming up, or repeated thoughts or feelings or repeated illnesses over and over again, as to where that's showing, how that's manifesting. Is it connected with the more masculine side of you, or is it connected with the more feminine side of your energy? Or the more masculine side of your body, or the more feminine side of your body. And it's like being a detective in a way, getting those clues on where to look. And sometimes it will be easy to see where it started, and it may have started in your childhoods or somewhere else earlier in life, you know, or somewhere in a relationship in life. Or it may not be obvious where it started, and in a way you may have just gone through life and somehow it got out of kilter, or maybe it was out of kilter from the off, and you've spent your whole life trying to readjust this imbalance, this internal balance within the masculine and feminine within you. So I don't feel it's ever been more pivotal than it is at this time to kind of have the acceptance that we are a mixture of both, and therefore not to be in an inner war with your masculine side or an inner war with your feminine side. And there are techniques you can do. There are mantras, there are exercises you can do where you can visualize being in balance with the masculine and the feminine side of yourself. You can actually direct, let's say, as an exercise, really, as a mental exercise, you can kind of ask your body, really, what do you need? Is this an imbalance on my masculine side inside me? How can I help you with that? And sometimes you can visualize the masculine expression of your energy coming into balance alongside you, or holding your hand, or dancing with you. Sometimes you can, if you find that difficult, you can imagine another expression of your masculine energy coming in alongside you. So let me make it simple. For example, you can imagine and you can even give a name to that aspect of the masculine energy of you, which is all you, and imagine that their energy strongly, you know, alongside you, supporting you, working with you, asking those things to come into balance naturally within you. And like I say, you can do it with visualizations. You can use your creative imagination, thoughts, feelings, all those things to kind of imagine it balanced and picture this. The whole underlying thing here is balance. So don't be doing it, don't get hold of the wrong end of the stick here, so to speak, and be doing it, I want to visualize someone and I'm married to them walking off in the sunset. I'm not saying that's wrong, but for the purposes of this video is purely about the balance of masculine and feminine in order to blend, to ascend. So don't start putting your own expectations on don't go down the relationship route with this. Just purely apply balance. So, or you could say, like, where would I like to express myself more masculine, like, in my life? Where is that having to be suppressed? Where would I like to express myself more feminine in my life? And you don't actually have to go out in your life and express it physically if you don't want to, but it's almost like giving that inner permission inside yourselves to express it, and the acceptance of the masculine and feminine of you within you. Now, I know for some people watching this, it might be a bit challenging, because if they're involved in the twin flame union template, or anything to do with the twin flame template at all, whether they've come bouncing in off that like a trampoline as an entry point to awakening and consciousness within them, or whether they're genuine twin flames or something else, and they, you know, whatever. If you're watching this, and of course, and you're out of sync with one aspect of you in another human body, in other words, another twin flame, and they happen to be male or female, and or male or female, and you feel out of sync with them, and you're not talking to them, communicating with them, you're really angry with them, they're trying to lock it down, etc. And then you could easily just say, well, that's why I'm internally out of sync in masculine and feminine, because my masculine representation or my feminine representation that I've met, or I know, or whom I'm in love with, is in complete denial, and that makes me out of sync. Well, I think we can only go so far with that. Everybody has their own responsibility for their own unique expression of consciousness. If you go down the route, almost like a victim route of, well, my masculine doesn't accept who he is or what he is, so I'm feeling that within me all the time, although tiny elements of that may apply, it won't be enough to derail you unless you want it to derail you. So in other words, you have to take responsibility for your inner masculine and feminine balance. You have to take responsibility for that. And I'm going to keep repeating that word over and over again, balance. So it's whatever it takes to get that into balance, whether you do it through mantras, exercises, visualizations, speaking it out loud, asking the body, asking you as consciousness, is it my masculine or feminine that's out of balance? What needs the assistance here? There are loads of visualizations you can do, you know, kind of like almost like dancing around each other in this spiral-like fashion, you know, coming together and melting into one another, imagining that your masculine expression of consciousness, you know, is perfectly at peace within all of you. You can, if it helps you, imagine someone, masculine representation that is still part of you. You can even give them a name if you wanted, that's still part of you. You know, being alongside you there, just to balance everything out within the energy field. And if you do come up against blocks within your energy field to do with that, pay attention to it and be a little bit like a detective and have a look at where they are, what they are, and kind of what that symbolizes. That's the masculine and feminine within. So it's so important, vital actually, to our own well-being, that you're not at war with your own self within yourself. You know, you're not at war, your masculine with your feminine or your feminine with your masculine. Then if we extend this outwards to the greater worldwide picture at the moment, we are in a unique but not unexpected point of history where the feminine energy is rising up. And it's rising up after a very, very, very long time of a lot of mistreatment and suppression in all forms, both from the most extreme and the most abusive levels of control and suppression and, you know, rape, torture, you know, inadequate pay, etc., etc., etc. But more to the more sort of lighter levels of it. So all extremes and years and years and years of it. And we are at a point of history now which is not unexpected. It's all part of this balance going on. That because that has been out of balance for a very long time, where that's now really rearing up hugely and coming, really lashing back out. Now, what I predict for this, what I really predict is, for a while, I think the feminine energy worldwide is going to go completely out of balance. A bit like a rabbit that's been let out of a cage for the first time, only millions and millions of rabbits being let out of the cage. This is in conscious speaking wise, metaphorically, for the first time. And I predict that the feminine energy will overreact and actually probably go down the other end of the spectrum for a while, which again is quite understandable really, before the feminine starts to come back into balance. I mean, linear feminine or metaphysical feminine, actual feminine energy, i.e. women, not just the feminine and masculine internally within those women, and within men and women, within everyone. So there's nothing unexpected happening here, because in order for a society or humanity to go through a process of alchemy or transformation or inner ascension into the heart consciousness, who they truly are, their authentic consciousness, this is part of it. It's really interesting to see, because I won't go into big details because I'm going to not make this a political video, but it's interesting to see that the massive catalysts for this absolute fury that's coming through from feminine energy. And again, it's understandable, because it's millennia of suppression that is all going in one particular direction. So this person, you know, I'm thinking of, this politician is a massive catalyst for stirring that up and the release of it. That's the bigger picture, and that's what was supposed to happen, and is happening actually beautifully. So again, I guess it's important for me to say it's even more important if you are going through this process, which a lot of people on the planet are now, whether they're masculine or feminine. If you are feeling kind of extreme rage, and that's something I've picked up in the general population as well as seeing it in the collective consciousness, a lot of rage coming through. On the feminine side of it actually coming out, it's always, well, first I say two things: cut yourself some slack, and there are exercises you can do if you're feeling full of rage, not just from your own personal life experiences, but from something you don't even really understand it. You just feel pretty pissed off at things and you don't know why. There are exercises you can do again where you can imagine and visualize that rage coming up through you, flowing through you, and coming out. Don't direct it in any particular direction or any particular person. Just direct it. And what I usually do is I kind of ask that rage either dissipates, disappears, is alchemized, transformed to love, or is transformed to light, if you prefer that. Or you can say, if you prefer to say taken to source, transmuted, transformed, you could say taken to God, if you prefer to say that. But just imagine it passing through you. Try not to grab hold of it. If you try and grab hold of a collective rage, your feminine rage, and you happen to have some unprocessed anger or rage within you, it will run riot in you. And like anything, it forms like a circuit or a synapse, really. And you will find the two running together, and it will be very easy for you to get mistaken on what's mine and what's the collective and just feel pretty damn awful. So if you are aware of a lot of anger and rage coming through you, just you can do an exercise. It just take you 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes, where you can sit down quietly, and just visualize it all just coming through you and dissipating and going out into be, let's say, in a way, disarmed. I don't like the idea of loads of rage coming through and then just going anywhere. I like the idea of alchemy and transforming it. So just transforming it so that it is alchemized, to something neutral or negative or positive or balanced. Balanced, again, that word. So it's become more neutral, so I'm not saying it's wrong to feel these feelings. I'm saying they can eat you alive, and you can get caught up with the collective very easily in almost like a hysteria if you're not careful on realizing what's going on. At the end of the day, as a human race, we cannot afford to be at war inside ourselves and at war with each other. We cannot afford for women to be at war with men and men to be at war with women, because there endeth the human experience and human race. It has to come back to balance, but on the road to that balance, there will be expression of emotion, there will be expression of feeling, there will be life experience, there will be a lot of stuff coming through in unconscious, the unconscious coming through, so that it can be alchemized. You can be alchemized to be made conscious. So vast waves of what is coming through is the unconscious. Now, we have had a pretty, I'm going to say, challenging few months. It's been relentless, actually, with all the blooming astrological things and everything, which really crank the pressure up. And if you are part of a collective template or a service template, that just hits you twice as hard. And if you happen to be empathic and intuitive and psychic and all of these things along the way, well, that's, even more of a whammy, a triple whammy. And what I would say is that let's say that internal and external pressure has not really let up, and it's not letting up for any of us. because we're being pushed at such a fast rate now to push through this point of evolution and get going, you know, get going onward and upward, internally upward in one's consciousness. So that's not letting up. And, you know, we're passing through pivotal point after pivotal point here, inwardly, internally, which, you know, there's a lot of stuff expressing externally as well. You know, like tomorrow again being 11/11, we know we're just passing through all these little, I call them signposts along the way that just nudge you or crank up the pressure a bit or crack things open a little bit more just to make the unconscious conscious. On a worldwide scale, I could easily get into some of the agendas that is positive and negative behind what is going on globally, and the let's say the attempt, but the unsuccessful attempt to stop humanity's evolution into the heart. But I won't get into that now. What I will say is that every week we are getting more and more people starting to awaken in this way and go into their heart. And it's really important at this time that we not only are kind to ourselves, but are cutting each other some slack. And again, I'm going to say we can't afford to be at war inside ourselves with our own masculine energy or our own feminine energy. And we certainly can't afford to take the mindset that all males are bad or all females are bad or anything like that. What's happening globally is quite understandable. And, you know, what I was going to say there is a lot of representation of fire and water energy at the moment, very, very strongly. I mean, this is not new. This has been going on for a few years, but it's cranked up again now. To me, my way of thinking about it, I often think of the water as the emotions, and to me the water is more of the feminine expression of the energy, and the fire more of the masculine expression of the energy. If we just look at the planet at the moment, regardless of what has been caused intentionally with negative agenda or positive agenda and what hasn't, if we just look at the world at the moment, we have huge swathes of the world underwater or in floods. Again, it's not a new thing, but it's reared up again now. And other parts of it, you know, with wildfires and a lot of fires out of control. And again, you know, it's a whole different subject, but in a representation of masculine, feminine energy, to me, it's a mix of that fire and water that represents the two. And we need the two to come together to be the eye of the storm, you know, the balance, the 0 points, the peaceful part of that within the middle of it. You know, that Trinity, actually to come together to form the Trinity as a representation of balanced masculine, feminine, source energy, source within one another, source within oneself. A representation of that. Of course, we're getting this going on in the micro internally, and then expressing outwardly in the macro externally. So I'm going to wrap that up there because I don't want this video to be too long. So just to summarize, if you're noticing anything going on in your body, particularly at this time, in your mental state, particularly at this time, in your life, particularly at this time, have a look if it seems to be playing out more masculine or feminine energy. There are things you can do to bring that into balance. There's a whole big thing to do with this all across the world at the moment to do with this particular balance. And the feminine energy rising up, which will make the masculine energy actually readjust and have to come into balance. So it's all about balance. Look about where it's showing up in your life, either externally or internally or in the body. There are mantras, there are techniques you can do to visualize and try and bring this into balance. Actual action you can take actually to bring it into balance, you know, if that is necessary according to what's going on in your life. And it's just important to recognize that some of what you may be picking up on is kind of the herd. I mean, is the collective consciousness. We tend to think of ourselves as individual, unique expressions, which we are unique expressions of consciousness, and yet we are always able to hear or tap into and have the connection to, the collective consciousness. So we can hear it, feel it, sense it, just like a herd of animals. And I'm not comparing us to animals, but it's the easiest way to describe it. So you can ask yourself, hold on a minute, is this mine? What I'm experiencing now, is that mine? And again, if you get the loud and clear intuition, instinct that, hang on a minute, that's not even mine. Again, you can do a visualization where it passes through you, washes through you. Don't just send it out willy-nilly out into the ethers to get, try and transform it, alchemize it. You can just even say something to alchemize it, transform it to something else, transform it to light, transmute it. You can say things, take it to back to source, whatever. It will not only will be massively helpful to you, but it will be massively helpful to any ascension, awakening template that you've got going on. It will be massively helpful to your own inner blueprints, your own inner consciousness, your own inner templates. And it's massively helpful to everyone around you. That's your family, soul family, blood family, town, village, country, and the humanity as a whole. The more people that are taking some responsibility, personal responsibility for the process they're going through, the better, because it helps everybody else. On that note, I will love you and leave you. As always, thank you for watching the channel. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for supporting me as that channel in all the ways that you do. Hopefully I'll be back on camera soon, but until then, take care, and I hope you found the video either helpful or interesting or both. Happy 11/11. Bye.